right. Hey, everyone. This is a slow day, a slow week. How y'all doing? How you doing?
What's up, man? Sorry, I put food in my mouth, of course. Of course I did.
Let's time it just when you're putting food in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
How's everybody doing out there? I don't even have the
I know.
I don't even have the thing open, so I can't see. I guess it shows it on here.
Hey, y'all. Oh, my
Wow,
gosh. Vance is
Vance is
coming
like
on
point
that
already.
was
He's
sick.
like,
Hard. Hey. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things, and I'm glad you guys made it. Give everyone a few seconds to get settled down. Hey, Dave Wheeland. Hey, what TV did you choose? And Leo, 7 Fire. We know what TV you want, the QNED. And we have to see who else is here. Oh, you know what? I did mention a QNED90 just for you, Leo. It's on sale, $1,300. Still on the expensive side, but at least I think it's a little bit closer to where it should be. But we'll talk about the deals as well. And hey, Paul. Hey. Oh, well, you know what? Let's hit the super chat real quick for Vamps, just because he came up. So that's what we got here. Hey.
nice.
Curious on your thoughts of the QN900B. Class C did a calibration for client on 85-inch, and it was 600 nits. Full field, that's actually very bright, just so everyone knows. That's incredibly bright. And 2400 nits peak. That is also very bright. I'm assuming on a 1% window. I haven't seen Class C. I was supposed to talk to him later, and hopefully if you could join us, we could ask him the specifics. But for sure, I'll tell you guys this. I will be getting a Q900B, and that is sometime this summer. They're sending me a QN95B first, but I'm on the list to get the 900B whenever that comes out, right? So, or I'm sorry, yeah, Q85B is coming, Q95B, and then Q900 at some point. Heavy considering once price drops. Agreed. So the Q900A now at all the sizes are pretty good prices. I don't think it'll get any cheaper. If you want the Q900A, this is the time to get it. Otherwise, wait until this time next year, and it'll be a great price. We have several people here who have the Q900A, and yes, one of them is our good friend TechMed Rainer Richter. He has the Q900A. He loves it, and this is why people are getting it. And this is also one of Classy's favorite TVs from the shootout. I mean, we saw it. Wow, it looks great. So back to your point, Vamps. At the shootout this year, we are going to challenge the Q900B. And when I say challenge, I mean that in previous shootouts, we didn't put out content that really pushed these Z9K, Z9J, 900Bs to their limits, because it's kind of like a Ferrari driving around the suburbs, right? It's like, wait, we're putting the same content we used to grade OLEDs. Of course, the OLEDs are going to win. That's their comfort zone. Let's put out really, really bright content that only these TVs could do justice. Now let's see where they land. Let's see if there's that HDR impact. So definitely hold out for the shootout, and we'll have a better idea of how good the 900B is. It's still too early, right? So yeah, pretty excited about that.
The shootout. I think we got the shootout. It's locked in now, right? The end of July.
Oh yeah. Yep, it is locked in at the end of July. Thanks for that. So it was originally beginning of July, and now Robert has officially reached out to all of us, letting us know that due to the delays in TVs, right, constraints, supply chain issues, the A95K and all of the TVs we wanted to be there, including the 8K, the latest 8K from LG, they'll make it for the shootout now that we've rescheduled everything until the end of July, or on July 30th, 31st. Now, here's the important part. At the end of the shootout, the following day, we're going to do a gaming TV shootout. So we're going to bring the best gaming TVs, A95K, S95B, G2, whatever, and see how well they do against the series on a Series X against each other. So Classy is putting that together. If you have any suggestions, let us know. What kind of games do you think should be tested as fairly representing, quote unquote, a shootout? And what should we be looking at when judging? So I'll cover it kind of like your host with anyone who's there, but really the people who will be judging are real gamers like Classy and Brian, Tech Therapy, Whisper Status, right? So I'm pretty excited about that. What are your thoughts on a gaming TV shootout, Brandon?
I think it's good for the people. I don't game that much. I might go to a Yankees game that day or something. But
well, it is on I think on a Monday, so you might end up going home if you haven't got the tickets already.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if I'll make it. But also, I wanted to make sure everyone smashed the like button if they could. As we
Yes,
get started
please.
here and people come on and we keep talking, definitely ask us questions about, these TVs that are on sale, because there is a ton of TVs on sale. I went into Costco,
Oh,
checked
yeah,
all that
yeah.
out, and super
That's
cheap.
right.
Let me answer my son real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, no problem. That perfect timing. Let's talk about these sales, guys. So we're going to have a full slate of things to talk about today. And, actually, I can go through it real quick so you guys see what you're going to get. So we're going to talk about these deals. This is the deal that was on today, briefly, early in the morning, and then in the last hour, all gone. I checked the price just 90 minutes ago, and it was still available. But someone tried to get it 30 minutes ago, and it was sold out. It's back up to 5,500. So when you see these deals that I put it up, if it's that good, you guys, if you're interested, you have to jump on it because there's a limited inventory at this price. We're going to talk about class action lawsuits and the Sony X900H and the Samsung Firmware 1204. It's a mess. 1211 didn't help. Is there a firmware coming? I can safely say yes, it is. We'll talk about that. And I had an OLED technology roadmap, what to expect next year and the year after. So if you're holding off or if you're waiting, what do you think will come next year? I have a few answers. I have some guesses, and we'll talk about the future of OLED TV. So this is pretty interesting too. All right, let's get back to the deals. And with respect to our budget, right, the inflationary pressures, I spoke to Brian, and he's saying a lot of people are beginning to ask him, I'm going to hold off on getting a super expensive TV. I will just get a TV I can afford. And then when I upgrade again, maybe I'll just throw everything at it. But this time, I'll either downsize my expectations in terms of prices or just get a larger, less awesome TV, but it's larger, and so forth. So today, we're going to go over TVs below 1,000 and just above 1,000 in the 65, 75, and then the crazy deals of the 83-inch, if they're still there, right? So currently, the C1, and these are all Best Buy prices, by the way. So if you guys are curious, it's on Best Buy. These are the prices on Best Buy. Of course, occasionally Amazon goes crazy. Like you see right there, the $45.50 price, but it only lasts half a day. So when Brandon or I or any of the other guys, when we post the deal, literally, you only have a few hours before they run out of stock for that price. Okay, LG C1 at 1,600. Is this a great deal? It's pretty good. It could go to 1,500 or 14. That's assuming it lasts to Prime Day. So if the LG C1 is still in inventory by Prime Day, yes, they're going to drop it another 100 or 2. But that's not a lot. If you're waiting until then and it runs out, well, you guys were warned. Same with the QN90A. 1,500. If it lasts until Prime Day, maybe another $100 off. But again, this is as low as you're going to see before it runs out of inventory. X95J, I think, is a great deal at 1,400. I mean, this is actually where it should have been because it's bright, it's great. But if you want perfect black bars, the Sony X95J doesn't get there. But at 1,400, I'll take it because sports, perfect for me. I love the Sony X95J for full screen. I had it, gave it away because I have no room. But in full screen, it matched the Q90A punch for punch. Midnight Mass has struggled, so the most challenging HDR, it's not the best, but if you're streaming Netflix and Midnight Masses is something you watch all the time, 1,400 for the X95J, I think is a phenomenal deal. And of course, if you want gaming and good color, LG QNED90, it has the gaming features LG is known for. It's not quite the OLED. I say just go get the $1,600 LG C1 if you really want gaming. This is really for people who are super afraid of burn-in and they don't want to deal with it. Okay, 1,300 QNED90, that's a little bit better. The LG A1 at 1,100, this is the least expensive 65-inch if you don't want to get a Vizio. So the Vizio is around this price, or maybe a little bit more at the 65-inch, and it's a lot brighter, but it's a Vizio. You guys will have to take your chances there. And $1,000 X90J, it's not going to get much cheaper than that. At most, if it lasts till Prime Day, probably another $100 to $900. But $1,000 X90J is pretty good. My favorites right now are the Hisense U8G and U7G. I still like the U7G more than the U8G for dark room watching. But if you're in a bright room and you're okay with slightly lifted blacks and a little bit of blooming in a bright room, which is less noticeable, The U8G is super bright, easily one of the brightest TVs out there, but color accuracy is a bit meh. U7G color accuracy is a little bit better out of the box. So that's the 65-inch. Anything here that catches your eye, Brandon, that you've been telling people to buy in the 65-inch size?
Well, I mean, I saw at Costco I hadn't seen it prior to just now, the Samsung QN90DA, like it has a D instead of a 0.
9D, right.
No, like before I think they had the 85, but now they have the QN9DA, and they have it in 65-inch at $14.99. So for those people that have Costco cards, it's in the US or wherever, it's the same TV. It just has the D instead of the 0. And it is, both that. I think that's a really good deal. But the LG C1 at 1600 is good too. Like you said, it might be a little cheaper yet, but when you look at some of these and then realize that like the new one, the C2 is $1,000 more, it's like, you can $800 to $1,000 more. These TVs are really good. And if it's going to be a year where people are going to consider like downsizing or not buying as an expensive TV, then I would look for last year's TVs, because last year's TV is better than this year's budget TV,
Yep.
So I would definitely look for some of those. There you go. Like right there, $1,200 for that. I think when I got that TV,
that's really good, guys.
I think it was like $2,600 or like $2,800 when I got that TV. So
it was crazy.
It is very inexpensive comparatively, and now it's a much better price.
All day long, $1,200. Guys, we are such pixel peepers when it comes to saying a TV is great or not. The X95 is a really good TV, and at $1,200, I think for many people, unless you're like an OLED fiend, been in a bright room watching sports and TV news and whatever, this is a great deal. $1,200. If you guys can get anyone a price match at $1,200, this is the way to go for sure. Thanks for that high def news. We got a lot of suggestions for games, so for sure, if you guys are familiar with Brian, he does play Warzone, I believe. So yeah, we'll let him know because he'll be the one selecting the movie. So Call of Duty, Cold War, all right. So yes, that'll be cool. And yes, we're gonna have 8K TVs, Leo. But the QNED99, LG says it's not their best 8K TV. LG actually asked that the Z2 be their 8K rep. So we will not have the QNED99 because it is not LG's flagship. LG's flagship is the Z2 8K, and out of respect for LG's request, it will be the Z2 8K versus Sony Z9K versus Samsung's QN900B. And there's a comment I wanted to address. It's a pretty good one. It said that I think Linus Tech Tips, he had something recently where he compared the QD-OLED, and he said that the grays were lifted. So I'll tell you this: in a room when the TVs are off, it doesn't look like a black screen like you normally see, but when there's content, and in the content it requires it to be black, I did not notice, or did I see that, here it is, that the QD-OLED looked gray. So I'll ask Classy if you measured it, but when we calibrate and measure, the blacks are black. But because it does not have a polarizer, if you have light in the room, so if you guys watch that Linus video and it's a really bright room, the reason why the gray is not black is because it's actually reflecting, scattering that light. It's absorbing the light and scattering it out as part of its screen, I guess, and it looks gray. So that's one of the weaknesses of QD-OLED is if you're in a bright room, it's possible that it raises the blacks. I haven't measured it specifically for that, but we could ask, oh, here we go. Classy, hey, what do you think of the QD-OLED black? Did you measure anything where it is gray? Because I have a suspicion Linus did not measure in a pitch black room. I've seen a lot of his TV reviews, and they're mostly in a bright room. And that would make sense why it doesn't look black on his videos. So.
And yeah, for me, I didn't notice any difference. I had it next to the A90J, and I only noticed positive luminance difference, a little more colors. But I think I'm just too used to the Sony and having Sony soundbars that interact, that having the Samsung kind of threw me off, So it's like, I really want to get the A95K just because I'm starting to just get so familiar with the Sony ecosystem, and I have a couple of different products that just be the one for me.
I do like their ecosystem overall. It's just not a gaming ecosystem, but for
That's
movie
true.
watching and streaming, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I know Classy, originally we set this a little bit later because Classy, wait, I thought you guys were starting at 7:30 or 4:30 Pacific time. Go, yeah, but then Brandon had to leave a little
yeah,
earlier.
it'll be good because I'm gonna have to leave at about 5:15, so then you and Classy can wrap up. Or
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, come on by, keep me company, Classy. It's all good. People come and go. And so
forgot my
he
son
wrote small. Rowan never went big. He paid $1,100 for the 55-inch C1. Great TV for an office at that price. Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Of course.
And it's $1,100 still, right? I think it's great. So let me look at the prices real quick. I think we stopped at 75-inch now. So $1,600 for the Sony X90J. That's pretty good, actually. For 75-inch, the X90J has just enough dimming zones to make it a little bit brighter. But if you want the non-dimming zone, no blooming, but slightly lifted black, the Sony X85J is $1,100 for a 75-inch. But the best deal in town is the TCL5 Roku. Its image quality is good enough, and for just under $1,000, you're going to get a 75-inch TCL5 Roku. They also sell the Google TV. I suggest you get the Roku. I don't think TCL has completely managed to master Google TV yet. So between the two, if you're going budget, just get the Roku and be done with it. And then the 83-inch to 85-inch, the X85J deal last week is no longer there, so I didn't post it. I think it was like $1,600 for the 85-inch. So no longer. And that 4550, I was hoping it'd still be available when the stream started. Nope, it is no more.
Which deal? That big one? That deal's gone already?
Yeah. Remember, I posted it this morning.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
I like your updates. It's good.
Yeah, as of an hour ago.
That's stock issue then. You know, they probably sold a few of them and they had to.
Easily, yeah. But the $2,600 QN90A, if you guys watch a lot of sports, this will be a brighter TV. It will have no dimming. It'll be bright for hockey and for all sports. So if your use case isn't dark, you're not going to benefit from the amazing everything that OLED does with self-emissive, infinite contrast. In a brighter room, that infinite contrast is a little bit limited. So at $2,600, I think the QN90A is great. Of course, DSE is always a thing on larger TVs. So generally speaking, larger OLEDs, 77-inch, 83-inch, will have better DSE than LCD TVs in general. But the worst OLED will still look bad compared to the best LCD TV. It is a panel lottery for both types of TVs. So yeah, those are the deals we have out there. And any deals I'm missing, guys, let us know. Share with your friends here, for sure.
I see TechMed wrote in here. I call him TechMed because you call him TechMed, but his name is Rainer.
Rainer.
He said Linus probably anti-reflective coating. I guess I didn't. When I shined a light into it, I didn't notice this. However, the anti-reflective coating on the TV is amazing. Like, it really knocks down light.
Yeah.
Even better than other OLEDs. So it's brighter than other OLEDs and it knocks down the reflection better. It does have that little bit of like coating on it that if you touch, it kind of messes up the screen a bit and you have to like really be careful cleaning it. I don't know, if that's part of the benefit of all that anti-reflective properties, but Samsung does know what they're doing when it comes to some of that anti-reflectiveness. Yeah. Anti-reflectiveness, is that a word?
Yeah. Anti-reflectiveness. Yeah, well, it is now.
Eric approves. He says good enough.
It's definitely a combination of anti-reflective and lack of a polarizer. You put it together and it looks great, but real image, I don't think it's something that's going to be noticeable. And this takes us to this question, actually deciding on a TV. Riley, congratulations. You can afford a new TV in 2022. So here we have, hey guys, still undecided whether to go with a 77-inch C2 or a 65-inch S95B. Am I missing out on color volume if I go with a 77-inch C2? Also, e-arc issues with the S95B. So I'll start with the e-arc issues. Some people are complaining that Samsung this year, the Sonos and Samsung, there's a lip sync issue. So they didn't see it in their other TVs in their house, but with their Samsungs, there may be a lip sync thing. So if you have a Sonos, something to be aware of. But that kind of applies to all TV makers to a certain degree. e-arc compatibility is never guaranteed unless it's with the same brand devices like Samsung TV, Samsung soundbar, or LG TV, LG soundbar. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, as far as 77-inch C2 or 65-inch S95B, generally speaking, I would go with the 77-inch C2 for two reasons. One, the content where you will see the color volume, more often than not, you're not watching that content like I do, right? So if you do not know what content that is, get the C2. If you do know what content that is, then you know you're going to get the 65-inch S95B. Reason being, most content that's streaming, if not all, you're not going to see much of a difference. It's more of, oh, it looks a little different because one might be Dolby Vision Bright, Dolby Vision Cinema versus non-Dolby Vision. I mean, it's just unrelated to the TV technology, the panel technology itself, or you're gaming. So if you are a gamer, then you know exactly what games benefit from the S95B's saturation. And the C2 has its own gaming features with HGIG, but if you're not a serious gamer, you are a casual TV watcher, you watch 4K UHD disc, or you stream 4K off of HBO Max, then get the C2. I don't think you're going to benefit much for the price premium and the smaller size. What are your thoughts, Brandon?
I would have to say that there's no way that I get the 65-inch. First of all, I'm already thinking, I mean, unless you don't have the space for the 77, I'd get the C2. And also, I would really consider going into Costco or Best Buy and getting the C1, to be honest, because the C1 is like $2,500. It's $1,000 more than the C2, which is, or I'm sorry, than the 65-inch C1 at 1,500 or 1,600. Now it's 2,600. But I mean, I would get the C1 and save. How much difference is that than the C2 right now? Probably at 500 to $700.
Yes, heck yeah, right,
So,
right.
I mean, I don't think that there is now the style and everything's a little different. You know, the EX different, panel. I guess there's a case to be made to get the C2 and with upscaling and all that. So yeah, just get the C2 as would be the answer. But the C1 is also a really good deal at like $2,600.
And Riley just added that at 9 feet, you got to get the 77-inch. I mean, I have my TVs from 6, 7, 8 to 9. And the 77-inch at 9 feet, it is a big difference. Going from 65 to 77, you're going to notice it. I think you definitely will enjoy it, and your whole family will enjoy it more. Get the 77, and you'll be thrilled. And take definitely Brandon's suggestion. You're probably, if this is your first OLED, get the C177, right? Because all the benefits of the C1, the C2, they share. C2 has a few improvements, but I don't think it's worth the premium that you'll be paying on a brand new C2 right now.
$900 more. Yeah, it's $900 more.
Worth $900 more. Absolutely not. A90J versus C1. A90J has better picture, but not in video games. Generally speaking, this is a whole discussion itself. I'll tell you this: if you are a casual gamer, you have your Xbox or your PS5, I think the A80J, personally, it works fine. I tested the VR. It looks great to me. However, there are those who tune their gaming to the utmost. So Classy and KG, they have very strong opinions about what looks and doesn't look good. And then they also have comparisons so you can see. But if you're a casual gamer, I think both are fine for gaming as far as picture quality. I don't have complaints about either. However, with the C1, you could go into the service menu and disable the dimming algorithm so that in the bright HDR games, it doesn't dim, whereas the A80J may dim depending on the game you play. And to me, I think that's the biggest difference for many people. But overall, I would prefer the A80J because when I watch movies and streaming, I like the motion of the A80J better than last year's LG OLEDs. So,
and again, we're picking this apart because either one of those TVs are fantastic.
Yes.
They're amazing. And I know you know that too. But yeah, I've had a lot of people.
At 77-inch size, I have to say, A80J is significantly better. At the 55 and 65, it's not as good as the 77. So if you're debating between,
it's closer. Like I like the A80J better. And I had people watch my videos and I thought in person, well, I kind of said that it looked a little bit more saturated on the C1, but people said they liked the A80J better for gaming. But I think you can't go wrong either way, unless you want 4K 120, and then you need all that stuff. I mean, it does it now with VRR, but I'm just saying, like, that was the complaint before.
Well, this is a segue into my next slide, right? Jedi Master asks, when will we maybe see or hear about Samsung's blue FOLED, that's phosphorescent
Jeez.
OLED, by the end of the year or even CES 2023? So this kind of goes to this one, a little about this. So we can skip to here since he's segued over
Yeah,
there.
no worries.
So I put out the video of what to expect next year and the year after. So really quick, this is a roadmap about all the improvements that are available for the TV makers. They could choose to implement it in 2023. They have enough time. So the question is, what could they implement? So right now we have a new hyperfluorescent green that could make the TV slightly brighter, more efficient. Both LG and TCL could use this. So LG can get a little bit brighter, better greens. And they will be introducing that similar chemistry in 2024 for better reds and blues. Kylux claims it's better than faux phosphorescent blue from UDC. However, next year, Samsung may be releasing the first phosphorescent blue OLED ever before even UDC. This is significant because QD-OLED is blue only. So if they could put this in their TV, 3 benefits: 1, brighter; 2, more efficient; and possibly 3, better color saturation. Maybe that's something that I don't really know yet because it really depends on how the color filter uses that energy. But for sure, because it's more efficient, you should get brighter. The quantum dot color converting layer is not limited by brightness or energy levels. So the harder you could push that blue, the better the quantum dot color converting layer will be. I spoke to Nanosys and they're like, yeah, we tested it at super bright levels. There's no way OLED is going to be limited, or they're going to be limited by OLED brightness. And then we have eLeap. Their production is going to eliminate, the new production method will eliminate fine film masks. And this definitely is applicable to WOLED because it will allow the pixel ratios to be larger. So that means brighter, same amount of energy. So bright, actually, they might say they're saying, I think 20% brighter. And then if you add that to LG's MLA, Meta Lens Array, together with possibly the hyperfluorescent green, over 2,000 nits, because just with the MLA, we're talking 2,000 nits on a 3% window. But you add everything else, this could be a year where definitely by 2024, OLED surpasses QLED, which is like, what?
That's crazy.
I did not expect that. And I have to say, when I said the OLED has reached its limit of maturity, boy, was I wrong. All you guys remember those videos. I'm like, man. And this leads to QNED being shelved because Samsung displays like there's so much out there we can do with QD-OLED. Let's put QNED off for a while because this is money. You got all these other things happening that we could layer onto our current QD-OLED technology to make it brighter. And I haven't even mentioned inkjet printed RGB OLED. The TCL also demoed at the recent show, showing off their 65-inch 8K RGB IJP OLED. So lots of good stuff for those who are willing to hold out until next year. Not to say that you guys won't be first adopters again, but this is good stuff, everybody.
You made a video on that?
I just put it up this morning. Yep.
I gotta watch it because like that was a lot of info. That was that.
Yeah.
I feel like you know that info way more than I do because I was like, I don't get it, but I'm gonna watch the video. I feel bad I didn't have time, but Leo, a couple people. Yeah, no, I'll watch it. As you said, there's not that like it seems to like we've been talking a lot of us like there's not as many people watching YouTube videos right now, or we're just not as popular anymore. But I think it's just in general, we got a good core group of people, but you know, the typical masses of buyers aren't looking right now. They're you know, checking their checking account balances because like you said, inflation's high. There's a lot of down, you know,
well,
a lot of crazy times.
This brings up a point like you and I got electric vehicles, you know, just because one, hey, you know, it's cool, but also gas prices were starting to rise when we picked it up. And right now it's insane. I'm thinking, man, even if I wanted to get one right now, like, what do I do? Right. It's like whatever's out there and you're overpaying for it. So it's all timing sometimes.
I think you've inspired Eric over here, the editor, to get the Volvo. He likes it. He saw that in that light blue color, you know, and that's
it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, he likes that one. But thanks, Leo. Oh, sorry.
You know, go ahead. Put it back.
Okay. I was just gonna tell thank you, Leo. Peace,
Leo.
Appreciate the super chat, man. And Hopefully you get
And
that QNED.
yeah, QNED99. Hold on, wait for the sales. Hey, Vamps, thanks for the super chat. Question for FOMO. Have you had a chance to watch Endgame on Kaleidescape? It seems Atmos mix is so much better on Kaleidescape. So this is something that I've been talking to Hollywood mixers. So I know one, and supposedly the mix for home should all be the same. And the mix for home should also be the same mix that the streaming companies use. We're talking audio, whereas the mix for theater is completely different. They are not going to have a different mix for multiple mixes for the home. And when I say home, it would include Kaleidescape. It's just a matter of how lossless it is, but the mix itself doesn't change. So here's the question. Well, there's only one way to find out. So what I would do is I'll watch Endgame on Kaleidescape, run it through the Trinnov mapping to see if, in the busiest scenes, whether it changes, and compare it to the Endgame on a Blu-ray disc. But let me know, Vamps, where do you see the difference? Because there's so much there, right? Is it more bass? Is it more surround above? And we'll talk about that because there's so much happening. It could even be the volume difference. You'll be surprised. Sometimes on Kaleidescape, it's just louder. It doesn't mean that it's more info. It's set louder. And I've noticed that on a couple of mixes. It's the same mix technically, but the levels are a little bit louder. So let me know. Is it louder? Is it clearer? What did you notice? All right.
Crazy. This is funny. Oh, sorry, dude.
My bad. Go ahead.
I was just gonna mention people are putting the gas prices out. $5 in Michigan, $6 in Chicago. I'll give you guys a hint. Out here, if you're not at a Costco, it's like $7 a gallon out here in some instances.
I know. I saw $6.89. Like, wait, isn't
it's
that
insane?
Discount? It's a discount gas station. What?
Like every time I see it, I want to take a picture of it because it's literally like $6.89, or like I've seen $7.09 before. It's crazy.
And if you take a picture, you come back next week. I was like, it's outdated. I'm gonna take another picture.
My record, every time I filled my truck up, but I'm like, I'm glad I got the Tesla. But yeah, it was $175 for 30 gallons. It was just like, that was at Costco too, where it was discounted. Luckily, it was only like $5.60 per gallon or something.
Yep.
Crazy.
Hey, Basil, good question. You think ELEAP could be adopted by LG next year? I think it'll take LG an entire year to retool for ELEAP. So they could adopt it as in spend money to get it, but it would be for the next fiscal year because they've already spent their capital expenditures for whatever it is this year is. It doesn't mean that they're not going to plan it for whatever their next cap expenditure is. So if they do that, then we'll probably see it coming end of 2024, early 2025, which is okay because LG now has a pathway to get brighter, right? They're not all going to throw all their eggs in 1 year. They'll do MLA next year, right? So you're seeing what they're doing. They're going to layer these improvements over the next 3 years. You got full LED, phosphorescent OLED coming out, hyperfluorescent OLED coming out. So they can layer this over the next 4 years and just pace it out. So I think with MLA already available, they'll do ELEAP maybe the year after or even a year later because capital expenditures are not cheap. And the economy being what it is, LG Display has to think about their capital expenditures. But yeah, good question. All right, Christopher, waiting for 77-inch QD-OLED. Yes, we all are. 77-inch QD-OLED is expected from Samsung next year. So I'm thinking it's larger, and if they could implement the Samsung phosphorescent blue OLED, larger and a little bit brighter, it's going to be pretty cool. Definitely. So you think it's inflation or price gouging, Brandon? So this is some people, wait, is it really inflation or people just taking advantage of us because we're all making more money?
I don't know. You kind of feel like some of both. I mean, I don't know. I guess aren't they kind of not? I mean, I don't know. You can't say you wouldn't expect like large companies like that to just price gouge because you got, they're sitting there, like you said, with budgets multiple years in advance. And so, it's just really like, how do you react when the inflation's going up and maybe the sales are going to go down? It's like, okay, well, but the people that are buying TVs, we better raise the price a bit to cover our butts,
Yep. And something for y'all to think about, because on the one hand, you know, people are concerned about inflation, but the Fed numbers came out today, record employment numbers, which will definitely push inflation down the line. It'll accelerate inflation because everyone's employed and paid well. People start buying stuff, but then the Fed will then increase interest rates, their interest rates, which will then push the stock market down further. And those who are retiring that wanted to cash out, they can't. So it's kind of like a domino effect. But it depends on what segment of the population you're in. If you get to work at home, inflation affects your food buying, but at least not your gas buying. But then if electricity goes up, now sitting at home with their computer on, at some point everyone's affected, I guess, right?
Yeah. If you look at the stock market and crypto today, when they announced that, it still everything went down, even though good job numbers and all that. But
yeah. And hey, this is a good question here. Jared D'Souza asked, "Hey Foma, I realized you didn't talk about the potential improvements to quantum dot conversion layer, improving its efficiency." So this is a hard one because on the one hand, I know Nanosys is in charge of the quantum dot conversion layer. However, they supply the actual chemicals. I think they're solid with the chemicals they're supplying. Where the improvements will be is with the inkjet printing. No one else is doing this right now except for Samsung. And unless Samsung announces something, I haven't heard of any improvements to inkjet printed quantum dot manufacturing process. So there's nothing to share until I hear something new, or if I hear from another tooling company that they're supplying something new for quantum dot inkjet printed efficiency or whatever, right? But Nanosys hasn't mentioned that they improved their chemistry yet, and this is the first year. I doubt they'll do anything this year. Probably next year, maybe we'll hear something, but I'll let you guys know as soon as I find out. All right. Let's see. Oh, here's a good question. Javier, what's more important, color volume or color gradation? Two completely different questions. Something that Sony would love to tell you that color gradation is more important because that's what they do. So color gradation is, or color gradient, it's when you look at a scene and you see all the shades of that color that was meant to be there in that scene. And color volume is a function of that, because if it's a bright scene, do you see all the colors in that bright scene? Sony does this really well below 300 nits, right? Under 300 nits is not super bright. Under 300 nits, Sony TVs, you have all the color in the scene. But as you go up in brightness and you want more color volume, you may have higher color volume, but you start losing on color gradation because not all the details of the color are there. So, I mean, the two to me are slightly different, and I don't think we sat down and really distinguished the two. But color volume, I think, is an absolute number, meaning a TV is capable of showing this color at this brightness, or at this brightness is capable of these colors, right? So color volume is definitely a function of color and brightness. Color gradation is more, in any given scene, are you seeing everything that the creator intended in that color range, right? So the perfect example is, this is how Sony describes it. They're better than Samsung TVs. Their flagship versus Samsung flagship, the X95K versus the QN90B. What they're saying is, if you put Samsung in the same mode that gives you all the color gradations available, they will have more lifted blacks than the Sony. And they're correct. The Samsung QN90B in local dimming on low will give you all the color gradation gradients that the Sony X95K gives you. However, you have worse blooming and lifted black is the same. Now, if you set the QN90B or the QN90A to aggressively get rid of blooming and the black levels are super awesome, Sony cannot do that because they choose not to, but then you're going to lose a little bit of the color detail and color gradients available in the scene. So when I was doing testing on the X95K, before I updated my QN90B so I couldn't finish the testing, I found scenes where, I see what Sony's talking about. In this scene, unless I bring QN90B to low, I didn't have all the colors there. It was just a super bright red, but I didn't have the gradients within red. So hopefully that answers your question, but it's one worth discussing because it's something that Sony wants people to know.
And the QD-OLED got a very high score on color gradient too, didn't it?
A color volume for sure, but color gradient is very scene specific. So people who test it, you have to give them the scene. And that's the hard part about reviewing these TVs, right? On a measurement pattern, it's color volume. There is a color gradient for banding, right? So if you do a banding, then the QD-OLED does, I'm sorry, the QN90B does really well. But what is its movie mode, right? If you put it in local dimming high in filmmaker mode, is it still better and as good as the Sony in its most accurate mode? And that's what Sony's saying. Not possible. Ours is better. And you don't know until you put it in a movie, because Samsung and Sony, what is on a pattern will be different in real movies. All TV makers are notorious for changing their processing once they recognize you're on a pattern.
Hey, make sure we don't. No fighting in the political comments, man.
Oh, no, we're talking about yes, let's keep it with TV, guys. Come on, we're here to have fun.
Inflation affects everybody, so we'll just keep it light. Keep it light. We'll all just be poor together.
Like, what do we know, right? We're armchair commentators. Hey, Vamps, thanks for the follow. More surround and height activity, but I ended still just using Oral 3D anyway. Yes, I agree with you. More often than not, if it's a DTS mix, Oral 3D is going to sound great on it. And Dolby Atmos is not always awesome. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It depends on the mixer. So I will look into the surrounds and height activity, but definitely the height activity, because that's kind of what defines Atmos. And at the end, if we have time, or in a bit, if you guys want to, I will explain to you why Atmos at home, not all movies appear to have that Atmos object surround like we've been promised. And there is an actual technical reason for it that's based in physics. And it's not that the mixers don't care or the budget is low. That's one reason. The other reason is there is definitely a cap as to what you can do with Atmos compared to what you can do at the theater. Oh, hey, Christopher, thank you for that super chat again. Tesla and other companies are actually starting to cut labor and implementing hiring freezes. Yes, I saw the announcements, right? 10% cut to executive salaried labor. So those unemployment numbers are going to get worse. People are preparing for a downturn. So yeah, these things are kind of like lagging indicators. These are employment numbers as of weeks ago, but it's not future looking. So who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we had economists apologize. What did they say? I was wrong. Inflation was worse than I thought. I go, wait, you only had one job and you got it wrong? Hey, you could have paid me to get it wrong, right? And that's the funny, well, not so funny, but funny to me, because people get paid to not get things right.
Yeah, but like it's hard because most economists don't agree. So then it's like
exactly,
like all these, right. Everything comes down back to philosophy and who is important and what is important, and then it changes the economist's perspective. And
my only question is, why are they paid six figures? Pay them what they're worth, minimum wage. And if they don't like their job, go flip burgers, man. Oh, man. I don't like when people get paid to be professionals, six figures, and I'm like, well, for that much, I could pay someone else to do my lawn and I'd get more out of that, right?
That's funny.
It's like guessing. It's a guessing game, and it's across the board. There is no political spectrum, Pundits are pundits.
So I wanted to address this. I do have a guy, Eric, call him Easy E in the background.
Hey, Easy E.
Easy E. No, he's doing a lot of good stuff for us. We're starting up. We're doing Be the Consumer. So we got a new video on the XM5 headphones. Those new Sony headphones. And I didn't feel like everyone in my, Be the Installer audience would like to see all the little small electronics and stuff that I want to review. So started the Be the Consumer channel. So check that out. I'm going to be linking all of these videos at the end of my current Be the Installer videos. And then he helped us record when I went up. So I forgot to tag Robert in the the QN90A, the 98-inch video, because I went up to Huntington Beach and we installed and took like footage of this really, that massive 98-inch TV for a client, for Tony, who was a client of Robert's. And FOMO and I went up there, and Eric came and recorded everything and lifted the TV with me. And so, yeah, he's helping me out to make sure that we can get a lot of good videos out this year. And so we have a ton of cool things coming. I have the 65-inch QN90B, and we're getting some Sony TVs and some. I think I'm getting 100-inch TCL TV. So we'll keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
Let's see if you could do better than last year's 85-inch, right?
Oh, we are. I mean, if it comes, I'm not 100%, but they said likely we're going to try to get the 98-inch TCL too. So it's only like $8,000 compared to the 15,000 for the Samsung. So
yeah, I know, right?
Half the price.
Hey, it's inflationary times. Hey, Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. Looking for a 75-inch or so for a really bright room at the beach. I love it. The salt air destroys everything pretty quick. Go for the TCL deal you showed or something else under 1,500 or 2,000. Okay, so get the super bright means that you're going to spend over 1,000, mostly because it takes a bit more money to get it brighter. So 75-inch limits you to like a Sony X900H from last year. So get last year's TV. QN90A is super bright. Actually, QN90A is brighter than QN90B as an entire screen, which is what I think you want. So off the top of my head, the X95J is super bright, 75-inch. It'll be closer to 2,000. The QN90B, 75-inch, also closer to 2,000. Both of those will be super bright. But then if the salt air destroys it, you go for the TCL. So this is what I suggest. Get the TCL. If it's bright enough, you saved money and you don't have to worry about it. And then salt air destroys it. Get another one in a few years. So try that, because Best Buy, if you're a Total Tech member, you get 60 days to swap it out, return it. This will give you 60 days to see if the TCL gets bright enough. And the brightest TCL 75-inch ends up being that one right now, which is the 5 series. And Hisense doesn't have anything that large that gets that bright either. So I'd say try the TCL first, see how that goes, and let me know which one you get, Jonathan.
And that's good advice too. I wanted to hit that. That's a good idea. If you need something less expensive, again, we really talk about the feature of these TVs. Again, I go to like a lot of, like I was at a hotel in Palm Springs and it was a bright room and they had like a 5 series Samsung in there that was 65-inch. And it was like, dude, it's totally fine. So like this TV will be far better than most TVs. And so it's like, definitely stick with that. And and you also brought up that point about the Best Buy. We were talking about that offline. And so Classy had said they might be changing the policy. I know that I was getting 45 days in return for because I'm an Elite Plus member, but then recently everything has changed to now a 60-day return. So I don't know if that was the actual change, but like I've seen everything on mine now say going forward that I have 60 days to return things.
Only for Total Tech members like us. So we pay our premium every year, but everyone who's not a member gets what, 15 days or so? I mean, it's a lot less. So if you guys are buying at Best Buy and you are not a Total Tech member, look at your return policy. It is a lot less than it used to be. Just an FYI, there's no more Elite membership. You're either, I think, less than 30-day return or 60. And this is why we always recommend Costco, right? Costco, you're a member already. You get a very generous return policy.
You get 90 days on these TVs. Yeah, you get 90 days. I went in there. I was going to tag a picture of it but 90 days, they come with 2-year warranties. So it's like, it's good. Yeah. I would not I don't like Amazon for TVs. I saw someone, J-Dog, totally fine with the warranties that Amazon have for other things, but returning TVs is really difficult. So be careful because they take forever. I've only returned, I think, 2 TVs ever to Amazon, and both of them were an absolute disaster, including one of them shutting down my account and all of my lights in the house not working because they closed my account, which was tied to Amazon Music and my Alexa account and everything. We couldn't turn our lights on. We had to put them under my wife's account. It was a mess.
And remember, consider if you were also connected to the Ring, right? All of Amazon
exactly. Then your security doesn't work. You know,
can't even get into your house.
I'm about to. I actually have Ring. So we bought, I'm going to do that on Be the Consumer as well, but we bought a floodlight. I already have a Ring doorbell. And then I got like another security camera with a solar panel. So then so I won't have to change batteries or plug it in. So I'm going to show the solar panel how that works.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I know how it works. Sun hits it and it charges.
I think this question is really for you, Brandon, because you're Mr. 85-inch this year, right? Beginning the end of last year, you're only getting 85-inch TV. Yeah. So Vito asks, what is the best 85-inch LCD LED TV, 4K TV right now? Like the best.
Samsung QN90B, not even close.
All right.
I mean,
And
I guess people could say that X95K is close to, but for me, the only one that I've seen is that one, the QN90B, and I think it looks amazing. It's awesome.
I would say the same. If cost is no object, but remember,
Yeah,
firmware update. We're going to have a firmware update in a minute because it segues perfectly into that. If you're getting the QN90B at any size, don't update the firmware until I've confirmed or some reviewer has confirmed that the new update fixes everything that was wrong with the 1204 update. Now, some people who directly update to 1211 do not have a problem, but firmware update 1204 is definitely broken. So let's take us to talk about that update right now. Let me see here. Oh, wait, before we talk about the Samsung update, I want to talk about the other update. We'll get to Samsung update in a second. This is interesting. So someone posted on the ABS forum and shared it with me. And apparently someone is attempting a class action against Sony X900H for the screwy stuff they've been promising, where VR doesn't work well enough. You got the half 120 hertz 4K half resolution issue. So their attorneys sending letters to Sony, and Sony's are saying, look, we're working on it. And we're going to have something coming out with Android 12. This will finally fix the 120 hertz half resolution issue, so forth and so forth. And so the attorney's telling him, wait for the update, continue with the lawsuit, or accept the Sony half refund. So apparently this is what this guy's doing. But at the end of the day, does it require a lawsuit for these companies to do what they promised? Apparently so. But at least Sony knows that don't mess around with serious gamers, because this is all gaming, right? Everyone who watches movies only and streaming, no lawsuit. But you mess with a gamer, you're bound to be related to an attorney. What are your thoughts about that, Brandon? Did you hear about the Sony and their firmware update via... Oh, wait, Brandon's talking. We'll get his opinion later.
Sorry, dude. My bad. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Did you hear what I was saying about this class action lawsuit threat against Sony?
Pretty crazy.
Sony, right? They're saying, oh, we're going to fix it. Well, of course, we don't know when it's going to be fixed. But ultimately, if you hire an attorney, so many people will say, oh my gosh, attorneys are so expensive. When it gets this far, part of the negotiation, I'm sure they're going to say, well, yeah, you're going to pay for my attorney's fees too. So I'll take your Sony half refund and give me another 20 grand to pay my attorney. And that's where things fall apart, I think.
Everybody's going to get like $7. You know how it works. Everybody that has a Sony X900H will get like, hey, here's your $7 check. Awesome.
Yep. And the attorney buys a new Ferrari.
Yeah, and Sony's like, I don't really care. Like our lawyers were sitting there bored anyways. They could have, so
Yep.
That's right. But you know what? It does make you realize that the one thing you should not do is trust Sony for future updates. That's the thing. Be careful when Sony promises you future updates. That's what I would say.
And here's an interesting take. Classy says this lawsuit has been going on for 2 years. So this poor guy, and when I say poor guy, it's either the attorney who's doing this on some kind of a contingency, or the client who's actually paying money to get this done. But either way, Sony's going to have to pay someone's legal fees. But until this point, someone's not getting paid. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Cannot wait to hear the update. Thanks for that, Classy. Now, next up is what we're talking about. Samsung firmware 1204 is the broken firmware, and 1211 did not fix it. But some people said that when they go straight from 1204 to 1211, or rather straight out of the box to 1211, it's not much of a problem. I don't know. I went from out of the box to 1204. Things look terrible. I went to 1211. Nothing changed. So I've recently heard from someone in the know. They spoke directly with Samsung Engineering. The new update they're testing is going around among the insiders. It appears to be working. We should have a real update sometime. So I'm going to assume sometime this summer. That means I have to put on hold my comparison with the X95K. I was originally going to say, you know what, Samsung, too bad. I'm going to put you up against the X95K, and if you lose, it's on you. But then hearing this, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll give you a couple more weeks. But had I done the head-to-head today, the X95K would beat the QN90B hands down. But and as you've seen, recent reviews are all on this 1204 update. The QN90B is not as good as people said. The flat panels HD, like worst blooming I've ever seen from a Samsung, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff we're hearing. And that's from this 1204 update. And that was what they have as their firmware, flat panels HD. So those of you sitting on the fence before getting the QN90B, continue sitting because there's no rush. It's not like they're going to run out. It's still early in the year. So yeah, these firmware things, man, I tell you, so sad.
Yeah, I'm glad I got that. I'm glad I got that in and out before I had the issue, because Samsung got me. That TV looked awesome. So I'm, it's kind of funny though, because we were all saying like firmware will get better over the course of the year. But last year, I felt like the QN90A started off bad. This year, I felt like the QN90B started off awesome and then went bad. And it's like, damn,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, well, TCL its initial firmware was so bad they had to shelve it from Best Buy for a while, right?
That's right. I remember that.
I mean, that's never done before. So I thought it was kind of cool. All right, let's see. Get caught up here. Our super chats. Hey, Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. What do you recommend for sound with that TCL? Well, for sound, I'd say a sound bar. If you want loud because you're outside, the A7000 bar none is one of the loudest, highest quality sound bars out there. And didn't you? I mean, I have it and you have it, but you actually reviewed it, right, Brandon? What are your thoughts on the Sony A7000 soundbar?
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite. It's my favorite of the three systems. I mean, I'm considering putting the A7000 in my living room and selling my HTA9, to be honest.
Yep.
But I think I would keep the sub though. So then it would be like, because honestly, I've enjoyed the Sony soundbars because the added benefit of like the center channel of the A7000 also having the center channel of the TV. So combination wise, it feels like a taller sound stage. It's like, it's pretty solid like that. And hey, I have to jet. So I was checking to see Classy's coming on in a second here.
It's all good, man. I can
have to roll. I feel bad. When I set this up with FOMO, I forgot my son had basketball practice at 5:45. So apparently it's going to take us like a full 30 minutes to get there. Glad I have the Tesla. But yeah, so he's going to jump on in a minute. Appreciate everybody. And also make sure you smash the like button as FOMO entertains you here.
Yeah, smash the like buttons, my friend. I better put that up.
Maybe I'll keep it on in the car here and listen. But yeah, we got to take off here. So
yeah, drive safe, my friend.
I'll leave you to it. Thanks, dude. Talk to you guys later. And make sure to watch the 98-inch QN90A video tomorrow. It's pretty fun.
I will look forward to it. Thanks, buddy.
All right, later.
All right, so let's see if I could do this solo for a bit. And I hope you guys are having a good weekend. And that's happy with this X900H. Now, unless, Corey, you're a hardcore gamer, right? I think the complaints are mostly coming from the gamers. As a matter of fact, Classy prefers the X900H to the X90J. He felt that the blooming was more even, so it's less blooming, just slightly lifted blacks, which is what he prefers anyway. So for streamers and movie watchers, the X900H is fine. I had it for a bit. I thought it was fine. And I just thought it was a little bit too dim at the 65-inch size, though. And the X90J is a little bit brighter, but then it had blooming. So that's kind of the issue. Is if when you go brighter, you have to control the blooming. All right, Steven, you have a great question. Hi, guys. A90J 65-inch for movies and gaming, PS5 and Switch, or C2? Which has better Dolby Vision? The C2 has better Dolby Vision than the A90J. The A90J's Dolby Vision Dark is too dark, and Dolby Vision Bright is too bright. Neither are accurate. However, just regular HDR, it's fine. The C2 in cinema is how Dolby Vision should look accurately. Unless Sony has a firmware update that fixes it, don't hold your breath. Oh, look who's here. Hey, Classy. Thank you. Coming on. I hope you're still, you're home yet, or you're still driving?
I'm home.
All right. So, yeah, you came in just in time. I know we have our opinions about Dolby Vision. What do you think? A90J Dolby Vision or C2 Dolby Vision? He games on PS5 and Switch.
C2 for sure.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
It's
weird.
I was gonna get my camera set up, but my
charger's
not
go
working.
ahead.
No, I'm saying I can't. My charger's not working.
Oh, well, we'll just have your disembodied voice. That's all good. And here we go. Hey, Steven, thanks for the super chat. Waiting for your questions. So I'll look for it. And as soon as it comes up, we'll know. Rick, I should leave and talk to my kid on the way home from the park. It's precious father-daughter bonding time, right? Daddy, look at these flowers. Isn't it cute? Yes, it is. All right. Let's go down here real quick. X90J, $1,000 at Costco. That's the price everywhere right now. Get it at Costco. Great return policy, especially if you have a lot of dirty screen. You can swap it out, very easy. Plan on streaming video services and Series X and other 1080p game consoles. Great. The X90J has the XR chip. It has great upscaling. So that's going to work well. Is this the best time for this deal? Yes, it would be. If you wait longer, you might get it to go a little bit lower by Prime Day, or you could risk it selling out. Even if it gets lower, I don't think it'll go lower than 900. So Costco, $999 is fine. Would a TCL 6 or Hisense UHD be better? Both the 6 and the UHD will be brighter for sure. However, the UHD will be the least accurate, and you can see that with your eyes. You don't need a calibrator to tell you it's less accurate. The 6 series may have a touch of black crushing depending on your setting, but it will be definitely brighter. So if you want HDR impact, I'd go with the TCL 6. If you want just color accuracy and motion and you don't want to fiddle around with the settings, the X90J is fine. But if you put both TVs side by side, most of your friends would choose the TCL 6 because it's punchy. And when I say punchy, it is really bright and punchy. But accuracy is anyone's guess, and you'll have to deal with the Google TV issues if there's still any. I haven't checked it recently. My son uses it for his gaming TV on a Switch at home, so he doesn't care about accuracy. He just games on Switch on it, but it still works. He loves it, but it's very bright, and it's a great TV if you want bright, fun colors, and it does represent HDR for the price better than any other TV I've seen. It's $1,000 right now. So for $999, the TCL 6 series is a really good price.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The 6 series is going to have a little better HDR, but the processing and just general use and stuff, I like the X90J better.
Yeah, well, you see, now that you're a calibrator too, right? You notice the differences for sure. Here's Steven's question. What should I enjoy more, the C2 or A90J for Star Wars, Obi-Wan, or the A80K? Well, this is a good question, but I don't like a matte screen for the 65-inch. I watched a Devillaman's comparison, C2 versus A90J, and it made the C2 look like bad. So, good question. What are your preferences here? You're watching Star Wars, Obi-Wan. You have a choice between the C2, the A90J, or the A80K at a 65-inch size. Where would you lean, Classy?
It's kind of tough to say. Honestly, they're so close. It's going to come down to panel lottery and like which white point you get out of the box, and just general stuff like that. But they're so close. Whatever's cheaper, or if you're very sensitive to motion stuff, the A90J is probably a little bit better in motion. But if you care about accuracy, the C2 could be a little more accurate. So you can kind of go either way. And if you're gaming at all, then I would say the C2.
Yeah. And right now, if you're considering the A80K, I'd say wait till Black Friday because you're literally paying top price right now. It was just released within the last week or two. So the A80K is going to be at MSRP, whereas the A90J will be discounted. It's still expensive, or the C2 is also at its top price. So I have the A90J. I like it a lot. And I get it, the A90J, because I think it makes all movies look great. So I think it's the best price you can get the A90J at, but do you need that Master Series Premium is a question for you. I think you'll like the 65-inch A90J. It's a keeper. It's very well made, but let us know what you end up getting, Steven. And like Classy said, if you end up gaming, then of course the C2 is the gamer's choice. Hey, someone wants to shout you out, Classy, for your LG Service Remote ABL video. He has no more dimming.
I have another LG service menu video coming that I got to work on today that you're going to find interesting.
All right. I can't wait to hear that one. Oh, hey, and we were talking about the QN90B. So yeah, share with us your findings. So you recently calibrated someone's QN90B. What did you find was interesting or disappointing when you were there?
Nothing disappointing. You just got to pay for it. It's
that's it. Just pay the money.
Yeah, it was an 85-inch QN900B, 2340 zones. Really good blacks and near black, 2400 nits in a 10% window, 1800 and a 1%. Like there's really wasn't much to complain about other than, new Tizen system and all that. The build quality is great on that. It's thinner than the G2, but still has like that metallic design in the back. It has like the 4 speakers on each side.
Right.
When that comes to the 95B, as long as they don't have bad firmware, that'll be a nice 4K option.
Yeah. Now, here's a question for you. I know how much you like the QN900A. Did you feel there was a big jump? I mean, it's so hard when it's so minor, especially, but was there anything that said to you, oh, this is better than Q900A? Because a lot of people, they might have a choice between the 900A or 900B. Would there be any specific reason to get the 900B over the 900A other than it's a newer processor?
Brighter.
Brighter? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that is a little bit brighter, huh?
Yeah, because the 900A was fairly similar to the 90A. And then the 90B was, a little brighter in small windows, but less bright in bigger windows or full field than the 90A. The 900B is 600 nits full field and 1800 1%, 2400 10%. So like it's basically like a Z9J brightness with better blacks and black bars.
That's going to be a great shootout this year for the 8K. Looking forward to that. Hey, Nickel, anyone like the TCL 8K TV? No. So basically, you're getting 8K for the sake of getting 8K. There's so many compromises to get to 8K at a price point. It would be better to spend the same amount of money on a 4K TV and you'll get more out of it. So especially at 75-inch size, you're paying extra to work around the physics and the pixel density to get to 8K, that it's just not worth any improvement that the actual resolution offers. Now, this question I think is kind of like a classy kind of question. Best TV for Dolby Vision. I'm just going to say any LG, but that's just based on my recent experience from Dolby Vision. Classy, what is the best TV for Dolby Vision?
Exactly. The LG G2 calibrated.
Yes.
That's the important part, is you really want to get whichever LG you get it calibrated so the config file can be updated, because that makes a big difference.
Now, if they don't get it calibrated, what does Dolby Vision look, or what shouldn't it look like if they did get it calibrated or didn't? I mean, obviously it's more accurate, but is there anything that's obvious to their eyes other than the color accuracy?
Yeah, so it's not like you're adjusting the colors manually or anything else like with a normal calibration. You're actually able to access the file that's in the TV and change the numbers, and you tell it, okay, the TV is the X bright, so it hit 837 nits, and then it measures just your primaries, red, green, and blue, and your secondaries, and then white, and it gives all the actual numbers into this text document, and that gets uploaded to the TV, so the TV knows exactly what that specific panel does, and that's what makes your Dolby Vision as accurate as it can be.
See, why doesn't Sony do that? Or do they do that in 2022? Because that's clearly, now you could take advantage of dynamic metadata, right? Otherwise, what's the point of all that data?
Yeah, because like out of the box, it's just going to have a standard file that says it should be X bright, but maybe it's brighter, maybe it's not.
Right, because it doesn't know. Yeah, makes sense. All right, Steven, you have a follow-up question. Let's hit it. In Australia, A90J is only $200 more than the C2 Dolby Vision, and streaming-wise, what would I enjoy more? And in 2023, what will Sony offer compared to the A90J? Okay. Well, first of all, I don't think Dolby Vision is important. If you have to have Dolby Vision, the C2 will be more accurate overall, because you'll either be on Dolby Vision Dark, which is too dark. I don't think you'll enjoy watching it. And if you put on Dolby Vision Bright, it's really for a bright room. You're not going to get Dolby Vision the way it should be. And then otherwise, you'll have to go into an external streamer and then turn off Dolby Vision. And that's a lot of trouble. So if you're using an internal streamer, then get the C2 for Dolby Vision. I don't think the A90J makes a big difference in terms of Dolby Vision. It's the other stuff that would be important, which is motion. If you're sensitive to motion stutter, then the C2 won't necessarily meet your needs. So you have to try it and see. And let's see, what would I enjoy more in 2023? Well, in 2023, for sure, the next Master Series is going to continue to be QD-OLED. Last year was the last year of WOLED, which is the A90J. This year is the A95K. And so maybe next year you'll get an A95K at a discount. So consider that. Otherwise, you'll be on the 2023 successor to the A95K. And yes, the A95K should be brighter than the A90J. The S95B I have here is definitely brighter than the A90J. What would you suggest, Steven, do, Classy? Wait or just get the C2 and call it a day?
Another thing to remember with the C2 is you get your accurate Dolby Vision mode, you get your bright room mode, you also get Dolby Vision IQ, and then in the next couple weeks, the next update is supposed to add the Dolby Vision IQ Precision, where the TV is
fancy.
broken up into 2000 zones so that it can, during the day, it uses your ambient light sensor and it detects how much light there is in the room. And if it's seeing more light in the room, it'll say, all right, these shadows are too dark, so we're going to target this spot and brighten only this spot. So that's how the precision is supposed to work. So if you're really worried about Dolby Vision, you get an LG, a C2 or G2 specifically.
You know, it'll be fun to test that to see in a pitch dark room what it looks like versus a relatively bright room. That'll be cool to have. We'll have fun testing that because it is like a first generation of AI doing that stuff. Hey, John, thank you for that super chat. A90J or C2 or C1 for watching movie, sports, and streaming. Worried about screen dimming due to fixed graphics like a score or on the bottom, right? So you have the bottom. Oh, those tickers. Well, at least with the C2, you can disable some of that dimming. But overall, though, if you want your sports really bright, the A90J, its APL average picture level can only go so much, like all OLEDs. I would lean on the C2 because you could disable some of that. Well, you tell me, Classy, because I think you disable all of your service menu dimming algorithms. Would that help with sports in particular dimming?
You don't even have to go in the service menu. You can just turn off the logo dimming in the user menu, and then your sports and stuff will be fine. And most sports, as far as I know, are SDR. And in SDR, they're going to be about the same brightness. And then once the A90J starts to dim because it detects those static elements, then the C2 will be brighter. And the C2 does have a higher APL than the C1 because it's not as software restricted.
Yep. There you go. And so the C2 will give you the balance of all three. I like the A90J because I mostly watch movies and streaming, which I think it's great for that. But when I do get Dolby Vision content where it forces Dolby Vision, if I use an internal app, that's why I use external app streaming like an Apple TV or a Roku Ultra or something like that. But if you rely heavily on internal apps, I think the C2 would do you great.
Yeah, the other advantage too is I think Sony's great with motion when you have all the stuff turned off or you just have smoothness at 1. But if you're watching sports, a lot of people like to turn that up higher. The C2, when you turn up the motion smoothing, has the least amount of artifacts I've seen on any TV.
Oh, look who's here. Another guest. Boom. Hey, KG, how's it going, man? Did we wake you up?
No, actually, I didn't even know you're streaming.
Hey, your voice is soft again. You're back to your soft voice.
Okay. Hold up, 1 second.
Yeah, bump that up.
How about
give
now?
me more? Give me another 4 dBs.
All right, hold on. Maybe StreamYard settings.
Could be. Well, while you're doing that, let's hit this question. Does the 75-inch U90G justify the cost versus the 65 U8G? No. The U90G just has so many issues. Dual cell is a hard technology to get right. You need processing, you need timing. I mean, the motion, it's just, the concept is good. Hisense needs to get to a 3rd generation before I would see it as competitive. So I don't think the premium's worth it. Is the 65-inch C1 a no-brainer? Yes, it is. 4K 120 gaming and movies. I think there you go, right? 4K 120 gaming, and those are your 3 choices. You got to go with a 65-inch C1 for sure. All right.
Hey, how about now?
Oh, perfect. There you go.
There you go.
All
I don't know. Sometimes my mic just resets volumes. It's like
Yes.
It's like one of those TVs that like switches settings by itself.
And Brandon was just here, but he made way for our illustrious guests. Or Classy is our illustrated guest, right? So let us know which one you meant. The illustrated guest or the illustrious guests? All right. Oh, look, someone's calling you out. Even Tech with KG makes the C2 look so bad compared to the A90J. What? Does it
I
look that
mean,
bad?
it's not
Where does it
bad.
look bad? Where does it look bad? Share with us.
It's not bad. It's just that when I had them side by side, you can see that the XR processor, it's showing you highlights in different spots where the C2 isn't. Like, I don't know what it is. It's something to do with the XR processor, but you can clearly see where things are illuminated differently because of the XR processor. It's just the way that the processor handles things.
Differently bad or differently good?
It depends
Good
entirely
and
on
bad.
content too. Because like
Yeah.
FOMA, you saw the C2 and G2 next to each other, it saw no
Yep.
difference, and then you see the
Yep.
G2 next to an A90J, and it kills the A90J.
So go figure.
Yeah, and there's something significantly different from the C2 to the G2. I can't put my finger on it, but it's different. And because it's competing with the S95B while the C2 wasn't.
Yeah, if you're using like Cinema or Filmmaker and you have dynamic tone mapping off and you're in your accurate setting, then the C2 and G2 are very, very similar. It's when you go into dynamic tone mapping or Cinema Home and you let the G2 do what it does, that it really separates from any other WRGB OLED.
That's a good point. Well, speaking of advanced technologies, what about the older technologies? Damao5 has a question. FOMO, when do you think SDR will die? We're looking at HDR broadcast soon. So my opinion is this. Not everything needs SDR. If it's an HDR, it's just more bandwidth. It has to take over, right? You have an extra luminance channel. It's 10-bit, blah, 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 whatever. But do you need it? I mean, if you're watching the news and sports, I'd rather have high frame rates in SDR than HDR and high frame rates. Now I have to deal with more bandwidth, but I don't need HDR in sports. I don't need dynamic range where the bright lights of the tennis court is really bright and then the dark shadows of the chairs are really dark, right? There is a place for SDR, news, broadcast, ESPN, all that SDR looks fine. HDR, it has to be done in a way that's purposeful. You can't just throw it into HDR and go, oh, look, it looks better. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? I mean, this is a really good question. Should SDR die? I mean, should we always be in HDR?
It'll never die because, I mean, you got to think there's been content for how many, there's a mountain of SDR versus, the top of the iceberg of HDR that we have now. So there's always going to be tons of SDR content. I have 700 something Blu-ray movies. I'm trying to replace them with UHDs, but they are just, the majority of those movies will not come out in HDR. It just won't happen.
Right.
So there's always going to be SDR.
I think going forward, we should probably not use SDR as much anymore. Like, the creators, right? Unless it's a medium, like, I guess anime. Can you even make HDR anime? I haven't even seen an HDR anime.
Nope.
Okay,
nope.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's flat. There you go.
So stuff like that, then yes, SDR should stay around. But yeah, like movies, TV shows, way better in HDR. Like, so and games too, like when Dying Light 2 comes out and it's SDR only, it's like, it hurts because it's a AAA title and it's SDR and it's like, oh man, right. I know, like, now people aren't going to get the same experience that they would have been getting if it was an HDR. If it's done properly, right?
Let's talk about our stream right here. Like, what if I was in HDR and you were in HDR? What would be different, right?
Right.
It's adding extra processing and bandwidth, but it doesn't really add to our conversation. So definitely there's a place for HDR.
Yeah.
But like,
in a bright room, you need SDR. SDR is better than HDR in a bright room, hands down.
That's another discussion that people need to have. People meaning those of us who've been talking about this, we have to share with the rest of you. In a bright room, you're going to enjoy bright SDR more than accurate HDR. And if you make HDR bright, it ends up being closer to SDR because you've just lifted your blacks, right? So yeah, craziness.
Yep.
It'd be too dark. HDR in a room would be too dark. What is it that D9 said? HDR is an absolute accuracy. If you end up doing like Dolby Vision IQ, you're no longer close to even what the creator intended. Now Dolby Vision IQ or Dolby Vision whatever, they're just trying to make it brighter to match the room, which means, okay, why don't you compare that to bright SDR. Now, which would you like better? Actually, Classy, we should do that experiment. Once LG gets that out, we should find content that we could make bright SDR or use Dolby Vision with their precision for the same content to see if in a bright room it could be SDR or end up looking identical to SDR.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All
yep.
right.
And also, like, you know, Dean and I said, with HDR, there's really no accurate. It's how close can you get it? You're good or better. And then with Dolby Vision, he always says a shit show. And then for SDR, that's what you get for accuracy. You can make it as bright as you need to for the room. It's just once you reach a certain point, you start to lose color, but that's going to happen no matter what.
Here's something that I haven't been able to answer because I don't test it at all. So you guys tell me, what about IMAX Enhanced? Is this HDR, SDR, somewhere in between? What is this exactly when you see it? When a consumer chooses IMAX Enhanced, what are they doing to the image?
On Disney Plus, it's just the aspect ratio.
Right.
That's all it
But
is.
on a TV that has that picture mode, IMAX Enhanced.
Mm-hmm. That's just picture mode. That's just what Sony's doing. Like, I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. But Classy, you measured it and you kind of dove deeper into it. I just like the way it looks.
Wow.
So you can give me the technical things on it, Classy. But
wait, so you like
Classy
it?
does not like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd because of the way that the settings are pre-configured. It measures a little more accurately than it should with those settings. However, it's still not as accurate as just using custom on a Sony.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like this in-between mode or something.
I like it a lot. Like, if you use it on default and then crank the peak brightness up to high, I'm not sure if it's on high or medium, but I just make sure it's on high. But it actually looks pretty good. Like, for me, as somebody who likes a little bit of picture pop, even in like more accurate content, I'll still throw on the occasional setting, like reality creation, something like that.
Right.
It's nice. It's a really good in between. It looks very similar to custom. It just has a little bit more pop to it.
This takes us to, I think, this question, because sometimes if HDR is done wrong, you do IMAX Enhanced and it looks right. So Luke asks, what percentage of HDR is done correctly? So before we answer, I was just going to lay the groundwork for this question. There's a difference between HDR done correctly, or should you even do HDR in that scene, right? A lot of movies don't need HDR, and some scenes definitely need HDR. The question is, first, you have to decide, does it even need HDR? And if it does need HDR, is it done correctly, right? So it's a two-part question. Do most movies, should they even be in HDR? And if they are they done correctly? Because if a movie, the entire movie is kind of dark with very minimal, like super bright, you don't even need HDR. You could just have it all within 200 nits. That's not HDR. But then every time you have a candle, it's like 5,000 nits, right? So you have this movie, this bright candle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know there's a creator intent in there as well, but what are your thoughts when you guys have seen enough streaming, Netflix and Dolby Vision and Amazon Prime and an actual disc you guys watch? What do you guys feel is most movies that claim to be HDR, is it done correctly?
Classy, you could start.
I wouldn't even know how to put a percentage or number on it, because it also goes into your personal taste. If you're someone who really likes Marvel movies and Star Wars and stuff like that, and that's all you really watch, then that limits, is it done correctly? Because if you're not someone who's going to watch, Inside Out, the Pixar movie, that's like a really good HDR movie. That goes well beyond P3. It's very bright. So if you're cutting that out of your watching habits, that kind of content, then there's really no way to put any kind of number on it. But what a lot of people don't realize too is HDR is supposed to track where the majority of the scene, so around 60% of the scene, is SDR. It's only highlights that go above and beyond. So aside from color gamut differences. But as far as brightness is concerned, it should look like SDR, but brighter highlights and more shadow detail.
Yeah, they always try to go brighter highlights. Like that's one thing that they're gonna always try to pump in HDR. Um, especially it just the recent HDR that we've seen. They don't really care about realism. They don't. They throw that kind of out the window. If you've
Hmm.
noticed, um, it's really like just up to the color grader, right? The colorist, and sometimes they just go crazy and they slap on all kinds of great effects that look good, really good eye candy. Um, but I don't know. Even some like people that are like probably film traditionalists don't like that kind of thing. I've seen that on forums the last couple of years where they're like, I don't even use HDR because it's fake and it looks like fake effects and it's just basically special effects that aren't needed and
Right.
it ruins the creator's intent because a lot of these movies are gone back and graded in HDR and people are like
Yes.
don't watch those versions. It's gonna be so yeah, there's so much argument against it. I
Well, it's
love
like
it. I
The
honestly love all the
Godfather.
HDR that I watch.
Like,
There's some bad ones, but
yeah.
for the most part, it's fun to watch HDR.
Like, okay, so you bring up such a good point. Like weird science, I would love to see in HDR, right?
Oh yeah,
80s
for sure.
classic.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have
Well,
like, I don't know, The Godfather. Like,
yeah.
does it need
Is
to be in HDR?
is
It's like,
Flubber in HDR? That would be a cool one in HDR.
I don't
Yeah.
know. That is funny. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Flubber. I don't think I even seen the original. That's funny.
Oh really? Wow, that's a classic.
I think I read the book actually,
Okay.
but I haven't seen it. I didn't know it was a movie. That is funny stuff.
Yeah, Robin Williams.
Oh, really? Now I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, that's
crazy.
classic.
So here's a
uh,
good. Go ahead,
I
Classic.
was gonna say
Sorry.
Daniel E's comment is about the Tom's Guide article.
Oh yeah, they corrected that, but it was
Well,
bad. Yeah,
all of
Oh,
their
right.
all of their TV reviews have been
No, yeah,
incorrect. So the G2 is not 40% brighter than the G1.
yeah, I actually reached out to the writer, the lady. I'm like, so I gave her a direct message and I listed all the things that they have to look at. She's all like, "Thank you so much for letting me know. I have no idea what you're talking about because the contributor was the one that gave her all the measurements."
uh,
But she said, in their defense, they were given a limited amount of time in a room provided by Samsung, and
mhm.
so there was a lot of things they could not do. So I was like, man, I don't know. If that's what you're allowed to do with a review, that's going to be a
Then don't
problem.
do it.
Yeah. So that doesn't give enough. But now I have context, but I can see, yeah, that's because a lot of people were very confused by the review. And obviously, I saw some of the comments on the review. A lot of angry people. What the hell is this, right? It's like, oh, man, Tom's Guide, you guys walked into something you did not know. You just stepped on something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened to Tom's. That used to be my go-to like PC site like when I was like
Yeah.
13 or 14.
I don't know. There's only been a few things that they did well over the years, and even back then with computer stuff, there was issues.
Yeah,
Well,
but
and then there's
they were one of the only few out there. So
well,
you
remember,
don't
there's a
have many.
difference between Tom's hardware guide
Yeah,
and Tom's
Tom's.
guide.
Yeah.
Tom's hardware guide is definitely more
Hmm.
thorough. Tom's guide, it's all over the place. But now I think it's a pretty good question here. Hello, I'm looking for a TV with great blacks, but wait, I know you're going to say OLED. I was thinking of the C2, it's too expensive. Now I'm looking at the Hisense U7G, U6G. Okay, so I'm going to throw this out there. The A1 has great blacks. It's not super bright, but it has perfect blacks. It's $1,100. Is that within your price range? U7G is like 800, I think, and the U6G or U7G is 7 to 8. U6G is a little less than that. So at half the price, yeah, the A1's not going to get that low. The U7G is better than U6G. I reviewed both. The U6G is just no motion control at all. For me, that's unacceptable. You might and forget the blacks. U6G, in my opinion, I thought U7G is just one
Hmm.
tier above. So I recommend you get the U7G, not because it has perfect blacks, it doesn't, but it's even, right? So you'll get equally slightly lifted blacks. It's not terrible, but U6G is just, I wasn't a fan. But I know, Kasi, you may have liked it. Did you guys like the U6G?
No. I
Yeah, no one liked it. Okay.
Okay, I didn't think it was that bad, but it's still not like it's a budget TV. It's like one of those. It's the U6G is in that line of everything below the 5 series. kind of.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I look at it as. Like everything,
Yes.
everything below the 5 series kind of blends in to me. Picture
Mm-hmm.
quality wise, it has not changed from the last 5 years. Like things like that, and that's how I feel about those lower than TCL 5 series. I always tell people like, you're cool with buying last year's model, you're cool with buying this year's model. Just buy the cheapest. Just buy literally just the cheapest you can buy when you are
Yeah.
below that range.
Yeah, for me, the TCL 5 series was the best of the budget ones. So when it comes to that range, I say get the TCL 5 series unless you can
Mhm.
afford the next tier up.
Yep. And then for that question though, I would say like try to find a C1 open box,
Mhm.
something like that. You know, or maybe even get a TCL 6 series open box.
Or just get a
That's
new one off Green Toe or something.
yeah. You could try
Yeah.
to do that too. Yeah. I always forget about Green Toe. I gotta keep remembering that one.
Yeah, green toe. That's a good point. Now this is a great follow-up because I know the 83-inch 4,550 sale is over. They sold out of those, but the bundle is still available. So if you need to get a soundbar anyway, and the A7000 is worth what, $1,000 around there, right? Even on sales around 900 to 1,000. So you throw that into the A90J 83-inch, that's not bad if you're getting a soundbar anyway. So thanks for that, Santos Tinajero. Hey, Corey, thanks for the super chat. Trying to guess what speaker is behind you. Milky Sound. All right, let me lean over. Okay, what you see there is a Dennis Murphy special. If you're familiar with Dennis Murphy, he made the BMR Philharmonic, and I had him do a pair of custom speakers for me. It's a 3-way, and they are the Akuton cell drivers, ceramic, mid, and tweeters, so that I can get just perfectly transparent mid-range, because I use this to mix my videos, right? So I want to hear my dialogue. And the woofer is a Revelator 6.5-inch, 7-inch, something like that. And so he's the man to go to because he perfect crossovers, custom crossovers and everything. And he's a dying breed of custom speakers who still does custom work if you ask him to. And I just wanted something from Dennis Murphy that was custom. So that's what you see, or that's what you see right there. And there you go. Thanks for the question, Corey.
Oh man, I lost my chat.
Yeah, I've been talking to SD all day about this.
Oh, so let's see. Wait, I don't know anything about this. So what is this? Burger beware. I guess he's talking to Burger. Some Q90 have 0 DSE and others have it bad. Some of them have firmware brightness and local living glitches and others don't. And I have been lurking in the owners forums because I thought that maybe it was just me, but it appears that it's all over the place. What are your thoughts on this? Was it the 12.11 or 12.11, 12.04 update? How is it possible that one update has such a diverse effect where some people say, I got no problems, and other people say, I can't watch the TV anymore? Any idea what's happening with this? But I do know there's a firmware coming to fix it all, but as of now, it's a nightmare.
He's talking about the 900B, the 8K.
Right.
Which
is it
isn't really affected.
It's not, right? Okay.
Not really. The problem is just Samsung's general box of chocolate. You don't know what you're gonna get, and that's why I just keep I cannot count on my hands how many Samsungs he's gone through. So I just just be done with the stress. Buy the G2. Be done. It's the safe bet. He liked the A90J 83. He just wished they made it in a 77. So that's why you get the G2. It's a little better than the A90J. It comes in a 77. You got 5 years warranty. It's not priced terribly. Just go for it. Be done.
I could not agree with you more. This is a great question. I want to ask you guys about this because Vamp says, spend money on an audio system, and then Technodad, 50% of the picture is the sound, and I have to agree. So this is what I'm throwing out there. You guys tell me what you think. Let's say you have a budget for an 85-inch TV, and your budget is, let's say, $6,000. $6,000 gets you an A90J 83-inch or a C1 83-inch plus a pretty decent soundbar. Or you get the TCL, let's say you get a Sony X90J. That's 1,600, but you're spending 3,000.
Nope.
You
lost me at that one.
All right. Okay. Maybe not.
Did you say X80J?
X80J, not A80J.
Yeah, no, you lost me at that one. You just lost me completely.
We
Yeah,
got
here's
$3,500 system
Nope,
with the
nope,
full
nope,
discrete
nope.
speakers. No, all right. I had to
so
try.
so my take for the audio versus video thing is video is going to last you maybe 5 years. Audio can last you 15 or 20.
Mhm.
So buy the good TV, enjoy it, and then in the process of that 5-year ownership, start working on saving up and buying your audio one piece at a time so that you do it once and you do it right.
Yep. Which takes us to the other side of the question, which is, here we go. Because a lot of people, they hear about accuracy, this and that, but now they're wondering, can the A90J even give me an accurate picture? Do I need QD-OLED to get the most accurate picture? A reminder, Mr. What's Up, everybody. The A90J won the King of TVs last year. Very accurate TV. Now, after calibration, but even before calibration, it's pretty good out of the box. Or do you need QD-OLED to get the most accurate picture? I think you still need to have it calibrated. But this is for accuracy talk. I'm going to pass it over to you, Classy, while I do a quick restroom break. I'll be right back.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, the A90J, pretty much most premium TVs are going to be good. So whether it's the C2 or G2, A90J, A80K, they're all going to be relatively pretty accurate, depending on which metric you're looking at. Do you need a QD-OLED for the most accurate picture? No, because the overwhelming majority of the content that you watch is going to fall into what the WRGBs can do. So like watching just about most things that you're going to watch, if they're whichever TV you're looking at, if they're calibrated correctly and they're even just in their most accurate settings, they're going to look so similar that you wouldn't be able to tell difference. Like there will be very slight in HDR color differences that are more hue related, or maybe a little extra brightness in this color or that color, but it's so small that you got to have them next to each other and just be picking them apart to try and find the differences. It's only when you get into the little bit of content out there that's 4,000 nits, 10,000 nits that will separate them a little bit, but it's not really enough content out there right now to worry about it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, really the way I look at it right now is QD-OLED. You should only be buying a QD-OLED over a WRGB if you are playing some games, right? Like I think when you introduce games into your habit or whatever you do, then you talk about QD-OLED, and that's where you separate, because that's what it's
when
doing.
it's when you go into preference.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And so like if we're talking about, like you say, accuracy, right? And I'm considering what filmmaker mode's doing right now accurate on the S95B.
yeah, like I
If
said,
that's side by
filmmaker movie
side,
mode,
yeah.
HDR, that thing's great. It matches the G2
Mhm.
calibrated. That's what I said. That's excellent.
Right.
In gaming, if you like not accurate, then you're gonna love QD-OLED for gaming. But if you want accurate games, you can't get it on the S95B. We'll see about the A95K.
Right. No, I was saying though, like in the fact that he shouldn't really be needing a QD-OLED unless he's going to look for gaming anyway, though. Is what I'm saying. He
he
could
was
probably save
talking
some
about
money.
accuracy though. He asked
Yeah,
about the
and
A90J being accurate, so that's why I was saying like I wouldn't say the gaming on the S95B if you're looking for accuracy is good because you can't get accurate gaming on the S95B.
Okay, I shouldn't even have brought up gaming because that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about it just being like next to another WRGB OLED, right? The S95B for just regular plain old movies, TV shows in filmmaker mode. It's going to look very similar to the G2, to the A90J. Like that's what I was talking about. I was bringing up gaming. That's when you want to start thinking about QD-OLED.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I was saying. I wasn't saying anything that was trying to say that the S95B was accurate in game mode or anything like that.
I know. I was just saying that his specific question mentioned accuracy specifically.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just saying that if he was gaming, but he still wants accuracy, then you can't get that on the S95B. You might be able to on the A95K.
If he wants accuracy for game mode, though.
Yeah.
He might just want accuracy for movies and not care about game mode.
Yep,
that's the thing. That's the thing. We
that's
don't
why I said
know,
it's
right?
preference, or do you want accuracy?
Yeah.
Which one do you want?
Yeah. That's because that's the thing I've been talking to people about. They're like, hey, I like movies to be accurate, but for game mode, I don't. Like, I keep hearing those opinions. I haven't heard too many that really care about accuracy in game mode. There are some though. Like, I know you care about it for sure. Um, and then there's a couple of others that want it too, because that's the thing we keep going back and forth about with the S95B and if it should get updated. And I think we're in agreement, Classy, that they should just add another additional like toggle, right? If they're gonna update it, otherwise people
Oh
are
yeah,
gonna be
either
upset.
do nothing and you'll keep the people that you have already happy,
Yeah.
or add something. Because as soon as you change anything, everyone that has it's going to be mad,
Right.
and it's a smaller amount of people who are going to worry about accuracy in game mode for sure.
Right.
But if you want to make those people happy, then you have to add another mode or do like add a toggle or something like that. But it's literally so far off, and there's so many problems with the accuracy standpoint in game mode.
Mhm.
It's not going to happen. The only reason they did Filmmaker is because they're part of the UHD Alliance, and their arm was twisted.
I can tell you this. I put the S95B in game mode with -3 ST2084. I know it's still not accurate then, but I put it next to Filmmaker mode, and there's like barely a difference. Like you could see some parts are brightened, but it's not in the shadows. Like you don't see things in the dark that you're not supposed to see, things like that. It's more so like maybe highlights are a little bit brighter than they should be, things like that. Maybe
He said
like
he's a movie
certain
buff. He
things in
only
the
cares
faces.
about movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you
there
go.
you go then. Well,
Yeah.
that could have lasted.
Yeah, it's A90J.
Yeah, for sure.
This is a great
Save some money.
question for you guys who kind of have an idea what Samsung is. So this is Rudy's Samsung question. This is for Classic QN90A, that's last year's 85-inch, or QN85B, this year's 85-inch, or the 75-inch QN90B. He does 50% gaming and 50% everything else. I like the QN85B 85-inch. It should be a VA panel, right?
Yeah, but with less zones, I believe, right?
That's
I don't
It's
think
either less zones or lower tier processor or something.
Yeah,
There's
probably
something lower.
something's
about it.
cut down. Yeah.
it's definitely lower peak brightness. Like that's
Yeah.
confirmed. But I don't know about the zones it has. But it will be lower peak brightness. However,
they did that for sure.
yeah. However, like
oh yeah, and
not
I
many
wouldn't step
games
down
really
in
push
size.
brightness too much.
Yeah, so I would say your safe bet here is the QN90A85,
Mhm.
especially with the older Tizen system. And I don't recall the QN90A having reduced color gamut in game mode. So I just say you're going to have less problems and probably even save money if you go with the 85 QN90A.
Yeah, and you saw the QN90A after like a lot of firmware updates, right?
Yeah, I
So,
literally just had it before the B.
yeah,
So
and you thought it was in a pretty decent state.
yeah, it still doesn't push the highlights and dark areas as much, but
Yeah.
other than that, it was fine.
All right. That makes sense. I would go with the QN90A 85-inch as well because it's so large and it's like so in charge. The 75-inch, although the 90B should have better specular highlights, the extra 10 inches is hard to give up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. What about Filmmaker in a motor bright room? If it's HDR, it's going to be too dark. I'm sorry.
I mean, even SDR Filmmaker mode is designed to be dark.
Yeah. Wait, John, is this the John Huber? Hey, so Filmmaker is meant to be watched in a dark room. So, bright room, you might as well just go,
Movie mode.
as an IQ Dolby Vision with its precision brightness and go crazy. It's such a, this is like kind of like that Tom Cruise, you should be in Filmmaker mode. I go, dude, my room is bright. I can't see a dang thing in Filmmaker mode. So yeah, it's I hate the motion in Filmmaker mode. They turn off all processing. I need a little bit. I cannot stand that. So
You don't like it on the S95B?
Oh, I think the S95B motion set at a 3 or 4 actually is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. And I'm okay with it. So this is where Classy is sensitive to soap. I'm willing to put it with just a touch of soap, but it doesn't have any artifacts. Whereas the Sony might have a touch less soap, but the artifacts could be distracting for some people. So I think the S95B does cut the difference with the G2 for me right there. But then I'm hearing in low bitrate content, the motion just sucks beans. because Brandon's like, oh, I can't stand its motion on my streaming when it has this like YouTube content. It's like, oh, it's just terrible. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Samsung needs to fix that.
yeah, that's also any like dark object near something bright, it having that ghosting and trailing, it comes out of black way too slow, and that's very disturbing and distracting.
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to give you a heads up. My wife just texted me. I have to go out to dinner in about 5-10 minutes. So let's talk about you guys. In the next 5 or 10 minutes, why don't you guys share with us what your plans are for the next week or month? What are you guys reviewing? Any cool videos in the works? Is inflation affecting you guys? Because I think you missed the beginning. We're talking a little bit about how inflation may be affecting the consumers, and TV reviews, and even the YouTube views are dropping as a result.
Yeah. I need to talk to you and Robert and stuff and get the plan for the shootout so I can finish up with all my gaming stuff for the gaming tests.
Oh yeah. A lot of people are suggesting games to test and stuff. So this will be an ongoing conversation on your channel for sure.
Yeah, definitely open to suggestions, but I want to limit it to games that are actually known to have very good HDR or are able to test very specific things, because it can't just be like use Call of Duty because it's popular. Call of Duty does not have the best HDR. It has problems near black. Like that's not a good option for the shootout. So I'm specifically targeting certain things, and then also we can't run through a splitter, so we have to have many Xboxes or whatever set up. Otherwise, you're going to limit the brightness on LCDs or be blowing out highlights on the OLEDs if it goes through a splitter. So that won't work. So free-to-play games are going to be key here. So anyway, working on all that to send it to you and Robert and stuff. And then I got a complete reevaluation of the S95B with the new update working on. And then a whole bunch of G2 stuff. And like I hinted at earlier, there's an interesting LG find that I got to work on tonight and have out in the morning.
All right. And how's your part-time gig being a calibrator? Is it taking up more of your time, or you're finding good balance?
I have basically enough requests that whenever I have time, I have a job to do. So I'm going on another New York trip next weekend, and I have to go back to Chicago soon, and then back to New York for the shootout, and then I'll be doing a couple calibrations when I'm not specifically in the shootout. So yeah, staying busy with it.
And Tech KG, what's up, man? What's happening?
So I'm working on a couple of videos right now. Probably the biggest video I'm working on is going to be S95B in filmmaker mode versus the S95B in game mode. And the reason why I'm doing this is because there are a lot of calls for more accurate game mode and what that would look like. And I just want to show people, like, when you are adjusting some settings, it is going to be kind of hard to tell in a lot of scenes. But for the most part, I think most people are probably gonna be like, why are you even making this video? Because it looks the same. But there are some differences you can see and notice, and I think like a slight change in a update would be fine. And I don't think it would make too many people mad. And it would also just help a little bit. So there's something for everybody in that video, I think. And there's arguments on both sides that it supports. And I'm also working on S95B settings. Like, I'm going to try to go in depth with the settings. And it's going to be more so like, if you want to copy my settings, sure, go ahead. It's just, I'm going to try to do it differently. Like, I'm just going to explain everything to you and kind of tell you, if you change certain things, this is what it does. Because I'd rather teach somebody how to set up their own settings than them copy like my settings. I want them to tweak it towards their sort of liking more so. So that's what that video is going to be like. If you ever seen my A80J, A90J settings video, it's going to be similar to that. And I'm going to probably do a stream tomorrow. I was going to stream tonight, but time's looking like it's not going to work out with that. So I think I'm going to stream tomorrow. And
right.
So stay tuned to the community post for that one.
Okay, well, thank you guys. And if you guys want to talk TV with anyone, I know there's always a stream running somewhere, either
Yep.
KG or Classier, right? And especially leading up to the shootout, I know that we'll have some streams, probably on Classic's channel, talking about why we would choose certain games for testing and not others, and what is it we're testing, right? So if you guys know exactly what it is we're testing, then you'll know why we choose certain games, and you could also help out. Hey, you know what? I've seen that scene in my game. What about that? So that's something that'll be ongoing between now and July. So it's going to be fun. KG, do you have a specific game that you think would be great for testing based on your comparisons right now?
That's tough. Forza seems pretty decent.
Forza?
Yeah, I think Elden Ring's a good test because it does kind of contrast what the different game modes are doing. Because it's not like the perfect HGIG. And so that's one of the things where I think that game would be pretty good. And maybe Halo.
All right. Yeah, I heard Halo Infinity or Infinite is supposed to be pretty good, right? For that. Oh, man, so many games, so little time. All right, guys, thank you for coming on. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And until next time, pass the remote.